the next speaker, Mr. Helmer.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Chairman, and thank you to Commissioner Feroci for his very helpful presentation. I was especially interested in the section on competitiveness, and the main issue which the Commissioner identified as a problem was energy pricing, as I understood it. And I have to say, I absolutely agree. It's a pleasure for me to be able to agree now and again. That is a critical problem for European competitiveness. What the Commissioner did not mention is that the main reason why European energy prices are so grossly uncompetitive is deliberate policy decisions which have been made to some extent in Member States, and I criticise the British government for its Climate Change Act and its carbon price floor, but fundamentally it's all about European policy. That is what is driving energy prices. That is why Commissioner Oettinger has said that we can no longer afford a unilateral European climate policy. That is why outgoing Commissioner Tajani said we are creating an industrial massacre in Europe. The competitiveness situation is a disaster and it needs radical action, and I'm not hearing about that radical action. Now again, Commissioner, you called for investment. Well, investment might come from the private sector or the public sector. If it comes from the public sector, actually it's called borrowing, and I hope you would agree with me that we have really in Europe borrowed quite enough, and that further borrowing is likely to make matters worse rather than better. If it is to come from the private sector, then we are straight back to the point I opened with. Why on earth would a major international company choose to invest in Europe with its grossly inflated energy prices when it could go to America for cheap gas or to China or India for much cheaper energy prices? We really have to get a grip on this situation with competitiveness. It's no good saying, well, we've just got to do a bit better and maybe we'll have a bit of energy conservation here and there and try and run with a bit less. There is a major problem that is fundamental to Europe's green policies, and it is critical that we change them.
Thank you, Mr. President. First request by Honourable Mr. Helmer, if I remember correctly. Yes. The question of discussion on the next year budget and the problems that exist in that negotiations. I'm aware of this. I'm aware that still there is a solution to be found in negotiations between Council and Parliament, in particular on the draft amending budget for this year. To my knowledge, this situation should not directly affect the funding of the Galileo program. If I may elaborate a bit on this, answering also one other question which was addressed to me on the question of funding, we have now a rather sound and solid funding in the MFF for the Galileo program, as well as for other space programs of the European Union. So at least for the time being, I do not see immediate problems for the funding of these particular strategic problems of the European Union. Certainly, I have already had a preliminary meeting and conversation with Commissioner Šefčovič. I met him. We had a long meeting exactly this morning. We went through a number of questions that we will have to manage together in the handover phase. He is well aware of the complexities of the situation. The first most urgent things that will need to be decided between this Commission and the next Commission have more to do with the next immediate next phases of the program than with the funding. But this, of course, is very clear to me, but it's also very clear to Maro Šefčovič, and we'll certainly take this into consideration.